Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 142nd episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had on the culture, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So for me, it kind of went without saying that Supreme Clientele was going to be my pick to start this set off with, but if I hadn't gotten my hands on that classic and needed another personal favorite to start this group with, I wouldn't have hesitated to choose the frankly amazing debut album by the Diplomats, 2003's Diplomatic Immunity. I remember posting Cameron's third solo album on my TikTok a while back, and I was a bit shocked at the amount of hate I was seeing towards him and this era of Roc-A-Fella, particularly the Dipset crew, and I've never really understood why, because it isn't the only time I've seen that sentiment out there. It honestly isn't dissimilar to Cam's childhood friend Mace, who's another legend I feel like tends to get their achievements and contributions to the game overlooked. In his case, mainly because of the material music and shiny suit Diddy era he was a part of. To me, it kind of seems like most of the hate for Dipset comes from pretentious hip hop purists who aren't able to enjoy two different kinds of rap simultaneously. As if being a fan of Def Jux or Anticon somehow means you aren't allowed to listen to or enjoy contemporary music. Regardless, while Cam and Mace infamously weren't on speaking terms for the 20-year beef that they both perpetrated, they now have a hilarious sports show together where you can tell that they're genuinely good friends again and aren't just doing this for the bag. There's even one really touching moment on their podcast where Mace actually gifts Cameron 20 racks, with 1,000 being for each of the 20 years that they were beefing where he missed out on Cameron's birthday. But back to the music, it was 2002's Come Home With Me, the year before this album, that really opened the door for Cam and the rest of the crew to get major label deals. There's actually a remix of Hey Ma that shows up on here, but while I'll probably delve deeper into Cameron's pretty underrated solo discography at some point later on in the channel, today we're discussing all of the Diplomats, which outside of Cam at this point in time included Joel Santana, Jim Jones, Freaky Zeke, Hell Rel, as well as affiliates like Un Casa, who was signed to Diplomat Records, but I'm not too sure about his actual official place within the crew. While his name may not hold the most weight amongst the core members of the collective, Un Casa actually does have an essential role in the Diplomatic Immunity debut here, as he alone delivers what pretty much always comes to my mind first whenever I think of intro tracks in hip hop that really come out swinging. It may be his only appearance on the album, but he really doesn't need 1 second more, as Ukasa uses the opening track named after himself as a display where he spends the entire time rapping as if his life depended on it. He's spitting lyrical crack for the entire 3 minutes, or at least whenever he isn't breaking the bars up with this hilarious skit where he goes back and forth with Cam as they debate whether Casa deserves to be on the album or not, while saying what's really good about 50 times each in a good 30 different ways. I really have to share at least the first handful or so of bars from this intro, considering it's one of those tracks I pretty much already know every word of. He blesses our ears from the first line, kicking the door down with, "It's a shame how I rap so bananas, it's Mr. Two Gun Un, motherfuckers better cock back them hammers. You might catch me in the drop, blowing pop with Santana, the hawk on me's not from Atlanta. It's just the father to the Glocks in the hamper. Look in the rear view, the cops and the camera. I flow hot like blocks down in Tampa and leave you dead pop shot from them glamours. And go down south and rock with the Bamas and come back in the Porsche color hot banana, vanilla coat seats, Piper made by Tropicana, speakers do the wop, rims do the Macarena. This is Taliban Dipset Roc-A-Fella. It ain't nothing but two gun to pop a fella. Killer sign me, now I got the mozzarella. I promise hell rel uncuss gon' rock forever." While Joel Santana has a number of highlights on here, in my opinion, the real shining moment for him comes in the form of Who I Am, which is probably a top 5 beat on an album where every instrumental is a contender. While the average Dipset fan would probably go to his verse on Dipset Anthem as the most iconic Joel's moment on here, I had to go with Who I Am as a verse of his to discuss, at least a couple lines of it, because while he gives game across the whole track, the most heartfelt and powerful lines come in the third verse. Because while he gives game all across the track, the most powerful and heartfelt bars come in the third verse. He walks the line between emotional and gangsta at the same time, delivering, Yo, mommy, I just want you to know I'm in love with you so. If you wasn't here, I'd be in love with your soul. My angel, mommy, I'd die faithful. Just knowing somebody tried to violate you. I'll slide eights through the side of their facial, squeeze and rip apart a side of their facial. I'd take a slug, eat a bullet, swallow the gun. Shit, you gotta know I'm your son. But I really can't be reading bars from this album and not quote any from Cameron himself, because regardless of what certain people might think, I absolutely love this dude's style. The way he paces and structures his schemes has always been super dope to me, and he has a distinct and easily separable flow and presentation from the other Dipset members, while still sharing enough similarities to be a tight-knit collective. Narrowing down just one kiloverse to share from this thing is no easy task, but I think my favorite would have to be when he says, Yo, these girls tell you I'm the man, right? Well, listen to Lover. When I beep, visions of gutter, kids clapping, kidnappings, heard her missing a brother, I'm hitting your sister, you kissing your mother, the shit'll disgust ya. Underground with people, lethal, trapped in the desert, surrounded by eagles. Yeah, I see your bitch is impressed, my kicks is all fresh, this shit on my chest by Mitchell and S. I got her open, hoping she's not. I'll have her cracking her tits, coking her twat, have her crack up the strip, coke up the block. She'd get cracked up and hit, keep soap in your sock, mommy. Another interesting aspect of this thing is how the theme of the September 11th attacks pops up relatively regularly, but they're never really commenting on the towers of the event itself. They reference them, but it comes more from the angle of post 9/11 New York and how it was a proverbial war zone, which in some part was inspiration for this album. While this is obviously a touchy subject that was clearly meant to provoke people on some level, to be fair, the creation of this LP took place right after the attacks in the place it happened, which they call home. So, as someone who was like a toddler on the other side of the country at the time, I don't really feel comfortable or justified in tearing them down for saying the term 9/11 music a few times or referencing the attacks. It's an interesting piece of the Dipset puzzle because while their use of the tragedy isn't on the level of the cover for Party Music by The Coup, it's definitely something that might put a bad taste in some people's mouths. But I think personally it's used tastefully and sparingly enough to remain from actually harming the quality of this LP. While Hell Rel was locked up at the time, he still has some fire verses on here from before he was in prison, and he even had an a cappella freestyle over the phone, which is absolute fire. I don't really have time to read a full verse for every member of the Diplomats, but I still want to shout out a couple killer lines, one being when Hell Rel says, and I did the crime, and I ain't gonna cry about this time, or hold no grudge with the judge, just shackle me down, put me up north, send me to my cell, long as y'all don't fuck with my food or my mail, I'm good, homie. Which, as you could probably glean, was from his prison freestyle. And while I'm at it, I might as well mention one of my favorite lines from Jim Jones here on Diplomatic Immunity, that being when he starts Beautiful Noise off with the bars, My homie Cash really going for 5, send my prayers, do my thing, I'll be going for miles, shit. We live life to the fullest, 365 nights on the strike, that's a bullet. And Uncle Ricky got a month and some change, and it feels like a garbage truck is dumping the pain. One other thing that's arguably the biggest reason I've returned to this project more than I can count is how addictive and consistent the beats are. It's honestly unbelievable the amount of just stellar instrumentals show up on this thing, like I Really Mean It or I'm Ready, are some of the most classic and iconic beats to come out of 2000s hip hop period. And this masterwork of chopped and pitched soul samples was a group effort, including Brian All Day Miller, Charlemagne, DR Period, Hiroshima, Just Blaze, Kanye, KLC, Mafia Boy, Ralph Random, Spike and Jamal, E-Bass, Paper Chase Inc., and of course the legendary Heatmakers. This double album also treats us to a star-studded variety of features with guest appearances from Monique Chandler, Shaniqua Williams, Master P, Toya, Freeway, and DMX. For honorable mentions and favorite tracks, I'm gonna leave out Un Casa and Who I Am since I talked about them a decent amount, and make room for tracks like This Is What I Do, Ground Zero, More Than Music, I Love You, Purple Haze, Let's Go, Dipset Anthem, My Love, and Real. My top three on this absolute classic would probably have to be I Really Mean It, I'm Ready, and Beautiful Noise. Thank you for watching my 142nd video. While the next pick may not have done the huge numbers these last two did or had that massive impact on the hip hop culture, it's still an absolutely essential early 2000s underground pick. So check in for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this legendary group's debut are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.